Right now feels like one of those moments in NASCAR that fans might still talk about years from now. The kind of moment where the headline seems simple, but the real story underneath is much deeper. On the surface, everything looks normal. A future Hall of Famer straps into a race car, finds speed, wins races, and reminds the garage why he has been one of the most feared competitors in the sport for nearly 2 decades. But if you've followed NASCAR long enough, you can sense when something bigger is happening. Because this situation isn't just about trophies anymore. It's about opportunity, access, and how even the most accomplished drivers sometimes face obstacles that have nothing to do with talent. At the center of the discussion is Kyle Busch, a 2-time Cup Series champion and one of the winningest drivers in NASCAR National Series history. For years, Busch built his reputation on racing anywhere and everywhere. Weekends used to belong to him. Fans were used to seeing him compete in the Truck Series on Friday, jump into the Xfinity Series on Saturday, and then fight for a Cup win on Sunday. That schedule wasn't about ego. For Busch, it was about rhythm, seat time, and staying sharp behind the wheel. But the NASCAR landscape has changed. The conversation recently picked up momentum after Samantha Busch addressed it during an Instagram Q&A. She explained that Kyle still loves racing just as much as he ever has and is excited to run several Truck Series races this season with Spire Motorsports. Then, she mentioned something that caught fans off guard. If the right sponsorship were available, Kyle would run more races in the Xfinity Series as well. That comment sparked immediate discussion across the NASCAR community. Think about that for a second. Kyle Busch is the all-time wins leader in the Xfinity Series, yet he doesn't currently have a guaranteed seat there. Not because he's uncompetitive, not because teams doubt his ability, and not because he doesn't want to race. Simply because the sponsorship pieces would need to line up first. For longtime fans, that reality feels very different from the era when Busch seemed to race almost every weekend across multiple series. A big reason for that change is the shift in his own racing operation. For years, Kyle Busch Motorsports gave him flexibility and control. If he wanted extra laps or another race, the team already had the infrastructure in place. But after selling the organization, that built-in opportunity disappeared. Now, any additional start depends on sponsorship, team strategy, and business alignment. And that reflects a much bigger change happening across NASCAR. The sport's economics have evolved significantly over the last decade. Sponsorship deals are more strategic. Teams prioritize developing younger drivers, and every car on the track represents a carefully planned business decision. Even legendary drivers with massive resumes still have to fit into that financial equation. Busch hasn't run an Xfinity race since 2024, which is a noticeable shift for someone who once treated that series like a second home. The competition there is unique. Young prospects are eager to prove themselves while experienced drivers bring racecraft and patience. Many competitors say those races help sharpen instincts and keep them in peak form. Imagine being a driver whose entire career has revolved around constant competition and suddenly having fewer opportunities to race simply because the numbers didn't align. That's not about ability. That's about the realities of modern motorsports economics. Even other veteran drivers have acknowledged those challenges. Conversations around sponsorship and additional race opportunities have become increasingly common in the garage. When drivers of that caliber openly discuss those hurdles, it highlights just how much the business side of NASCAR has changed. Yet one thing about Busch hasn't changed at all. Whenever he does get behind the wheel in another series, he still looks like a contender. His recent Truck Series performance wasn't a ceremonial appearance or a nostalgic cameo. It was a reminder that he still knows how to control a race, manage restarts, and execute when the pressure is highest. One of the most interesting moments from that race involved his interaction with Carson Hocevar. Early on, Hocevar showed aggressive moves and fearless confidence, something Busch even compared to his own younger racing style. As the race progressed, their drafting improved and their communication became more coordinated. At one point, Busch helped Hocevar gain track position, and later Hocevar returned the favor with a perfectly timed push that helped Busch move into a race-winning spot. That kind of veteran and young driver chemistry is rare. It's essentially racecraft being shared in real time between generations. But when the Cup Series returns to the track, those temporary alliances disappear quickly. Drafting tracks reset everything. A driver helping you one lap can accidentally end your race the next. Superspeedway racing thrives on unpredictability, and Busch knows that better than most. What makes this moment so interesting is the contrast surrounding his career right now. On the track, he continues proving he can compete with drivers much younger than him. His instincts in the draft remain sharp, and his competitive fire is still obvious. Off the track, though, he's navigating a business environment where opportunity doesn't automatically follow reputation. For now, his full-time ride with Richard Childress Racing provides stability in the Cup Series. That partnership gives him the platform to chase wins and fight for playoff positions. But the flexibility he once had to race across multiple series isn't guaranteed anymore. And that makes every Cup weekend more important. Without extra races on Friday or Saturday, each Sunday carries more weight. There's no additional seat time to reset rhythm or shake off a frustrating result. If you've followed Busch's career, you know that doubt has always fueled him. When critics start suggesting the next generation might be taking over, that's often when he responds with some of his strongest performances. Throughout his career, he's repeatedly proven that writing him off too early can be a mistake. That's why this moment feels bigger than a simple scheduling issue. What's being tested right now isn't his talent, it's his access to opportunity. If the right sponsorship appeared tomorrow and placed him back into the Xfinity field, very few people would be surprised to see him competing for wins again immediately. Talent and instincts like that don't just disappear. What we're really watching may be the intersection between NASCAR's evolving business model and the relentless competitive drive of one of its most decorated champions. For fans, that realization can feel surprising. We tend to assume icons always have unlimited options. We assume records guarantee flexibility. But the modern NASCAR ecosystem runs on a different formula now. Marketing partnerships, financial alignment, and long-term development strategies. That's why Samantha Busch's comment resonated so strongly. It revealed a reality that many fans hadn't fully considered. Not a retirement announcement, not a farewell tour, just a quiet reminder that even legends sometimes have to wait for the right opportunity. And that leaves one big question hanging over this entire situation. Is this simply a temporary hurdle in the business side of the sport, or are we beginning to see the next phase of Kyle Busch's career take shape? Because one thing hasn't changed. NASCAR always feels more intense when he's in the field. Whether fans cheer for him or root against him, he creates storylines, sparks debates, and raises the competitive level of every race he enters. The fire is still there. The speed is still there. The hunger to win hasn't gone anywhere. What remains uncertain is how many opportunities the modern NASCAR system will give him to prove it. And if history has taught NASCAR fans anything, it's this: counting Kyle Busch out has never been a safe bet.